Got transfer portal intel here, and you may be thinking to yourself, how's that possible? The portal's closed. Yes, it is, but there are a lot of names still rattling around in there. Just ask LSU. So big defensive commitments coming off the board. All right, Princeville, Yaman Ellen. Very close, yeah, to LSU. Here's what I do know. I do know they just picked up a premier edge rusher. 9 sacks last year, 6'5", 245, and they're still in it for other guys like LSU is doing a really, really good job in the portal. I told you the other day, I was talking to a GM from another big-time program, and he talked about his team, and then he talked about LSU. So LSU is a lot of people are taking notice of what they're doing. Way too early, top 15 team. That's the rumor on the street for 2026. So that's happening. Also, Damon Wilson to Miami is official now. And this is a big one because you just watched Ruben Bain terrorizing everyone, Akeem Mesidor terrorizing everyone. Well, they're going to be playing their ball on Sundays next year. Who knows? Maybe in Miami, but it won't be for the Hurricanes. So they had to backfill, and they were going to be aggressive, and they've got Damon Wilson. And this is a big, big, big pickup. 6'4", 250, was second team All-SEC last year. Now, great in edge rusher category. Run D, that's probably the one where like you're going to look at it and you're going to say if there's a vulnerability there, then that's something that you keep an eye on. But you've got available what you got available in the portal. So you got him, you got Lightfoot, they got others there. I think Miami has more than done a good enough job sort of backfilling, losing some premier guys to the NFL. Jordan Seaton watch is still on, Jesse. I don't know since we started the show if anything's really happened. It doesn't look like it's happened. So, you know, he took the visit to LSU and didn't sign with LSU. And anytime you go to LSU and you don't sign, Lane chases you in his plane after you leave. And so in this case, I think Jordan Seaton ended up in Atlanta, and he canceled his visit to Oregon, but then Oregon and Dan Lanning hopped down to Atlanta to visit him, don't know where, and then Lane chased him, and then Miami's still in this thing. So you've got a Miami, LSU, Oregon sort of battle. Was looking at Nakos's work on On3.com earlier. Maybe still edge to LSU, but it's fluid. I guess that's the best way to describe this right now. If LSU gets him, that would be 3 of the top 4 guys in the portal rankings. So they're making big moves there. Darian Mensah is in the portal. As we told you the other day, all the legal wrangling at Duke notwithstanding, obviously nobody ever wins a lawsuit. The NCAA never wins a lawsuit. So he was going in the portal. He is in the portal. It's brutal for Duke. I hate that it's happening. Miami is in the driver's seat there. He's going to go to Miami. Cooper Barcade, who we think is the last name that we've pronounced right here. What we do know is he was Duke's top receiver, 1,000-yard guy. That is a guy who's probably following him to Miami. So Miami was in a unique situation because they had to play the national title game, which means they kind of had to delay making a lot of their moves. So now they're making their moves. Dabo may retire, man. Hey, guys, do me one favor. Check and see if you're subscribed to the channel. If you are, great. If you're not, it's that easy. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything. It doesn't sign you up for anything. It just helps us do the show this way forever. All right, back to the clip. Dabo, for a long time, shirked the portal. And I had my thoughts on it, and everyone had their thoughts on it. Dabo Swinney has finally dipped his toe into the portal, and it's freezing. Like, he may jump out and may never even pull his shirt off. He's not going to jump in after experiencing what they have with Luke Farrelly. So here's what happened, all right? Tough scene for Clemson as it relates to Luke Farrelly, because you're watching the screen and you're saying, what do you mean Clemson? There's an Ole Miss logo. There wasn't last week. So this dude's an ACC Defensive Rookie of the Year at Cal, and then he portals to Clemson. But hey, man, that was in another world, another time. That was all the way back on January 7th. And then you're walking around on Clemson's campus, and you walk into class, and you may have even seen Luke Farrelly, and you're attending some team functions, and you may have even seen him there. He's wearing the orange polo with the tiger paw on it. And then Ole Miss decides, no, we want him. And since there are really no rules or parameters or barriers or guardrails, they just said, we'll go get him. And so they dropped a bag, as you do these days, and Luke Farrelly said, you know what, I don't think I'm enrolled here anymore. I don't think I'm a Clemson Tiger anymore. I'm going to Ole Miss. And so I sat there and begged forever for Dabo to utilize the portal, and he does, and this happens. And I can only imagine his reaction when he finally gets drugged kicking and screaming into this thing. And this is one of the first examples of what it's like to dance in the portal. This is tough. Caden Lee, Ole Miss wide receiver, entered yesterday. And so we're keeping a close eye on this. Missouri looks to possibly be the team to beat. Now, keep in mind, it's another one of these legal things with Trinidad Chambliss. He isn't allegedly going to play college football anymore because he's out of eligibility, except that they're trying to legally pursue another year for him. No one knows which way that's going to go. Caden Lee doesn't know which way it's going to go, but he had to get in the portal just in case it didn't go the way he wanted because he can then follow Austin Simmons to Missouri. So there's a lot of uncertainty as to whether he'll hop back out of the portal. So, yeah, the portal is everything that you would expect it to be this time of year, as is PateStateMaterial.com. Now, about, an hour ago, I had a Vince McMahon moment on Prez, because Prez made this fancy new graphic down here in the lower right portion of the screen as I'm looking at it. But it said new merch out. And like Vince McMahon was famous back when he was, running programming every day for having these little idiosyncrasies, these little phrases he didn't like. Like he didn't like hospital being said on air. He wanted it to be medical facility. So I never do that, except I've never been a huge fan of the word merch for our store. I prefer items. So I told Prez with like 10 minutes warning, change that to items. And I just noticed he did it. So never say, Jesse thought he couldn't do it, but Jesse always underestimates Prez, and Prez always comes through. So there are new items available at PateStateMaterial.com. Like, for example, perhaps you've procreated recently and you are a new father. We are happy to celebrate with you. It's a problem that I can see the staff now with this glass in front of me. Pate State Dad. And we got Pate State Mom in there too. It's just 94% of our audience is male, so I assume there are more fathers than mothers that watch the show. So there's some Pate State Dad items. Some would call it merch. I would call it an item. Also, the McLaughlin School of Music shirt is moving. It's moving. Happy with that. That's not the attitude that built Quick Trip. I can tell you that. It's not the attitude that built America, and it's not the attitude that built Quick Trip. So they are going to fuel a lot of you this upcoming weekend. In fact, I always encourage you to just go to Quick Trip once or twice a week, period. But many of you are going to be stuck for the foreseeable future due to factors outside your control, weather. So one factor in your control is you can go gas up. I don't think there's any rule, Jesse, about just going and filling 15 cups of cold brew on tap. Now, we don't want to rush on the cold brew. We don't want that. So we don't want cold brew shortages. All of the folks in school taught me about the gas shortages of the 70s. We don't want a cold brew shortage at Quick Trip. Okay, those taps can run dry. Be responsible, but be a little aggressive here. Big time winter storm coming in. So you can fuel up, you can caffeine up, you can trail mix up. You can fill the cupboards. There's no harm in having a little bit too much food during a winter storm. There's a ton of harm to the alternative. So Quick Trip, in fact, I'm going to go ahead and say it. It doesn't say it on the piece of paper because the piece of paper never says anything. Your official winter storm supply headquarters, Quick Trip.